Assalamualaikum everybody, I hope you're all doing well. My name is Chimi Q and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So as promised, I'm coming at you guys with a Quran video, but more so specifically a Quran reflection. Now, I kind of had the intention a few surahs ago to make a reflection video on every surah and just the moral that I've learned from it as I am going through my Quran memorization journey. And Yusuf, subhanallah, is the best surah for me to start that with you guys, because there are just so many gems in that surah, guys. It took me a fairly long time to memorize Surah Yusuf. However, I was learning it like literally verse for verse, and alhamdulillah, I'm so happy that I did that with this surah, because there are so many gems, guys. There are so many things in Surah Yusuf that if you think about deeply, it will just be a life lesson for you. So I definitely want to go over some of the few things that I've learned from Surah Yusuf. So with that being said, I need to, at this point, it's not even like I want to share with you. No, I need to share with you guys some of the points that I got from Surah Yusuf. Now, there are two specifically, but I'm going to focus on one. When I deeped it, it was just such a reaffirming life lesson for me, and this just goes back to show you that, subhanAllah, the stories in the Quran are not mere stories for you to just look at and read and like, oh, okay, that happened anyways, let me move on with my day. It's intentionally crafted and put in its exact place for you to understand that if you take these lessons the same way that our prophets did, the same way that every single person mentioned in the Quran did or didn't, it will have a direct effect on your life, guys. No other surah shows you that more than Surah Yusuf. I have to say, Surah Yusuf up to date is probably my favorite surah that I memorized so far in terms of like the meaning. I think Surah Yusuf is just that surah for me. Now, specifically when we do talk or think about Surah Yusuf, we're thinking about who? Yusuf, right? Because obviously, it's his surah. However, I find that the story that was extremely touching to me throughout the entire surah was the story of Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam and what he went through and the lessons that his story alone in the surah teaches us. So with that being said, let's just set the stage. Now, I'm sure many of you are familiar with Surah Yusuf and what it entails. However, I want to specifically talk about the surah from Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam's perspective, right? Now, here is a father who is a prophet of God, who has so many sons, and of course he loves all his kids, but he just happens to really love and take favor to Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. Now, obviously, prophethood wasn't revealed to Yusuf at this time in the beginning. However, eventually there comes a time where Yusuf has a dream. What is the exact ayah? Oh my god, guys, I play this game with myself where as soon as I think about something and it reminds me of an ayah, even though I know the meaning of the ayah, if I don't say the ayah fully without looking in the Quran, then I lost the game, okay? And right now I feel like I'm losing the game because that ayah, like, it's literally in the beginning of the surah and I forgot it, how it goes already. So, okay, I got it, guys. I won this round. إذ قالوا ليوسف لأبيه يا أبتي إني رأيت أحد عشر كوكبا والشمس والقمر رأيتهم لي ساجدين, right? So Yusuf dreams that there are a group of stars and the sun and the moon, and they're all making sujood, they're all prostrating to him. So from this dream that Yusuf is telling his father, Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam automatically realizes, okay, like, this boy, he's special, he's different from the rest, okay? This boy has big things coming for him. But in that exact moment, Prophet Yaqub warns Yusuf to not tell his brothers because shaitan could get in the middle of it, right? Now we're gonna fast forward a few pages where Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam realizes that his sons have done something awful with Yusuf. They come back and they bring the shirt with false blood, and they say that Yusuf has gotten eaten by a wolf, and we tried to save him. However, even if we were telling the truth, you wouldn't believe us, okay? They come to their father with a sorry excuse, and what else can Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam do? And of course, if you think about it in the moment, your favorite son has gone and now the rest of your sons are coming back with the story that he's gotten eaten by a wolf. What else could you do in that moment other than go crazy? Forget about it being your favorite kid. Any kid in general, any family member in general, when they disappear or they leave or they, death comes upon them, that is traumatic for anybody. But subhanallah, Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam, in that moment, although he was filled with so much sadness, although he was filled with so much, despair, فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ, that's how he responds. He literally says, patience is what is the most sufficient thing for me. Patience is the only thing I can do in this moment. And patience with who? Not only with his sons that have done this to one of his other sons, but with Allah, and the fact that Allah is going to give him something back that was taken from him. The part that sticks out to me in this entire story, subhanAllah, is just how Prophet Yaqub never gave up worrying about Yusuf, thinking about Yusuf, and believing that Yusuf would be reunited with him. Think about that with any of us. Even when it comes to us making dua, a lot of the time we might feel that I've made dua for XYZ and it's not gonna come into fruition because Allah has not given it to me yet. Yet here we have the story of Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam literally still focusing on the fact that Allah will bring Yusuf right back to him. Mind you, during this entire waiting period for Prophet Yaqub, it's not like he had the most understanding of sons, right? Even when he was going through so much, inner turmoil with the fact that Yusuf wasn't there and the fact that his son is, a place where he doesn't even know, his sons weren't making that situation any easier for him. There has even come a point where his sons were very annoyed with the fact that, years have passed and all Yaqub alayhi salam could focus on and worry about was his missing son Yusuf. When I was just thinking and realizing that subhanAllah, Prophet Yaqub went through so much, and yet his response to so many things was patience. Patience, why? Not necessarily because he has to be patient in that time and let me just be patient until I die. I feel like the patience was carried with tawakkul, right? Because he never doubted throughout all of the moments of Yusuf not being with him, he never doubted that Yusuf wasn't going to come back to him. And logically, within our own human mind, when we've made dua for something day in and day out and we don't see it coming into fruition in whatever moment, be it that we've made dua for days, weeks, months, a lot of us don't even get to the point where we make dua for months or years. We give up so fast when dua doesn't come in the form that we want. And yet look at Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam. Years Prophet Yusuf has not been with him. Prophet Yusuf was gone from childhood, and yet Yaqub alayhi salam never gave up the conviction that Allah is going to reunite Yusuf to him. And subhanAllah, if that doesn't reaffirm you in your dua and in the fact that tawakkul will truly take you far, I don't know what will. Right in these moments, we realize that having trust in Allah is not supposed to be easy, And I think a lot of the time we look at it as, because I trust you, Allah, make it easy for me and it has to be easy. And if it's not easy, then I don't want to trust you no more and I just want to move on with my dua, or I want to move on with whatever I'm, supplicating for. Literally, we're seeing from the prophets alone that they were sad as Allah was trying them through things, Just because you're patient with something doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't affect you in a sad or negative way in the moment, right? Yaqub alayhi salam still had all those emotions that any father would have with losing a kid. He cried until, there's that ayah that even says he cried until he lost his eyesight. Like, can you or I understand how much tears you have to cry in order to even lose your eyesight? That happened with our beloved Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam, right, where he lost his eyesight because of how much he was crying for Yusuf. However, through all that pain and suffering that he was going through emotionally, that still didn't make him give up in Allah's promise, and he still had full conviction that Allah's promise was true. Now later on in the story of Yusuf, when his brothers are going back to Egypt to get provision to bring back to the bed where they were, Prophet Yaqub would remind them to also look for Yusuf. He would be like, okay, look for your other brother, because at that point Benjamin was also missing. However, he said, also remember Yusuf and look for Yusuf. And to anybody, any normal eye would have already given up on the fact that, Yusuf is gone. It's been years. Our father is going crazy, he's an old man, he's just losing his mind. But yet Prophet Yaqub was not looking for any confirmation from his feelings or from what he's expecting from Allah from anybody else. Because if he did, long time ago, he would have already given up hope. But the fact that he was only reserving that spot, and he was only reserving the fact and the full conviction that Allah is going to give him something that he asked for with Allah and not with anyone else. So when his sons are going about and he's telling his sons to look for Yusuf, although his sons aren't taking him as seriously, he knew full and well that subhanAllah, Allah is going to take care of me. And I'm asking Allah, I'm not asking them. You guys know those ayahs in the Quran where Allah always repeats, إن في ذلك لآية لقوم يتفكرون. Like, indeed, in this are signs for people who reflect. Guys, if you just read the Quran and you reflect on what you're reading, there is a clear message for you. In 2024, 2044, whatever time you're living in, there's always going to be a direct sign for you. And that also, sidetrack, but this just speaks to the truth of Islam. The fact that, subhanAllah, all these things happened years ago. You can't even say 1400 years ago. Yusuf's time was thousands of years ago, and yet I'm 2024, I'm reading it and I'm only reflecting on it directly in how it affects my life today. Anyways, the ayah, what is it? Ya bani yadhabu? Yeah, Ya bani yadhabu fatahassasu, what is it? Oh my god, guys, am I really sharing how bad my review is? It can't be this bad. I just finished the surah. Ya bani yadhabu fatahassasu min Yusufa wa akhihi. Yeah, Yusuf and his brother, وَلَا تَيَأْسُوا مِن رَوْحِ اللَّهِ إِنَّهُ لَا يَيْأَسُ مِن رَوْحِ اللَّهِ إِلَّا الْقَوْمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. Guys, that ayah is so deep. Let me get it though, because I don't want to translate it wrong. So mind you, just to set the context of this ayah specifically, Benjamin has also been left behind in Egypt because he stole something, right? So they come back to their father and they say, you know what, Benjamin is also missing. Which, of course, now we're seeing this is a reoccurring thing, right? They're leaving with Yusuf, Yusuf's gone. They're leaving with Benjamin, Benjamin's gone. But this is what the father is saying in that context, right? So, O my sons, go forth and try to obtain some tidings of Joseph and his brother, and do not lose hope of God's life-giving mercy. Verily, none but people who deny the truth can ever lose hope of God's life-giving mercy. Guys, are we people that deny the truth? How many times do we give hope? Do we give up on our dua? I'm even speaking for myself. How many times do I give up on dua because I feel like, man, I made dua like 1,000 times and Allah didn't, you know, Allah just doesn't want to give it to me. No, that's not a sign of you having true faith, you know? True faith doesn't come easily. We're expecting things, and I'm saying I'm talking to myself too, guys. A lot of the time, because we do something remotely close to, you know, what Allah wants, we feel like we deserve the world from Him. And if He doesn't give it to us, how dare He, you know? Because I did my part. I woke up and I prayed tahajjud, so Allah needs to give me whatever I asked for. The entitlement is crazy. Who am I to feel so entitled to my dua happening for me in 1 second? When prophets have come before me that are 1,000 times better than me, who have had better requests than me, and they had to wait. And waiting for them wasn't easy, but they still had to wait. And Allah delivered, you know, at the end of the day, the same way I know He's going to deliver for me. But you have to just realize in that moment of waiting that Allah is still going to be there for you, and Allah will still carry on with His plan. You just need to be patient. So subhanAllah, it's also like, I keep jumping around. I have to also say, it's very humbling to realize that, and at this point, guys, I think I'm just talking. I'm not even following a specific flow. Anyways, I hope you guys can just follow along me just talking. It's extremely humbling to realize what prophets go through, because no one in their right mind is ever going to say that they are better than any prophet, right? No one in their right mind, or even their wrong mind, can even say that. And yet, look at what they went through to get what they had. Look at what they went through. None of them just had it initially. They went through so much before Allah blessed them with something beautiful. But subhanAllah, it could be that the fight and just that period of sadness and that period of longing, that is what makes whatever you're asking for so much sweeter when you get it. Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam has asked Allah for years for Prophet Yusuf, and yet He gets him years later. Perhaps that moment of them reuniting with one another had so much more barakah, and I can't say perhaps, for sure that it did, because that's what Allah ordained, right? It had so much more barakah than, let's say, if they were to be reunited as soon as, you know, Yusuf went out to play with his brothers and he comes back with them, for example. Through the pain, you gain so much, and you only realize that if you could just sit down with yourself, you know. Through so much adversity, you will get your blessing, and the severity of your blessing perhaps is only because of how much you suffered to get it. I'm not saying everything that comes to us in life you need to suffer first, but I think a lot of the things in life that are worth having require some level of discomfort, you know. And I think especially in our society today, we want things instantly. If I want this, I'm gonna go get it. If I want to order something, if I see something I like, I'm just gonna go on Amazon and order it, and it's gonna be on my doorstep today. We live in a society where things are just so instant. Even a job, think about your own job. Think about a career, right? You going to school for X amount of years and putting in the time required and the hours required and studying up late at night, that makes whatever job that you're going to get so much worth it. You know, if I'm a doctor at the end, alhamdulillah, because I know that all that suffering was for something. However, if you're doing all these things and you just want a degree and you just want something tomorrow, I mean, yeah, you could get something tomorrow, but it's not going to be of as much value as what you could have gotten had you just went through some level of, I also want to use the word suffering, because no, maybe not suffering. Maybe I will say some level, okay, I will say discomfort, yeah. And I think a lot of the time when we think about discomfort, it's something that's not, like, it's something that you're not supposed to feel. God forbid you feel discomfort, you know? God forbid you're not feeling a sense of ease in every single moment. No, that's not life. You deprive yourself of feeling the height of joy if you cannot allow yourself to feel maybe being low sometimes. This is a lesson to myself first and foremost, and I think this is probably why Surah Yusuf and I don't know, the story of Yaqub really resonate with me, because I'm somebody, for example, I want things now, but I also want it to be like amazing, you know, like, and you can apply this to anything. Your small business, you know, everybody that has a small business wants to wake up with hundreds of orders every single day. But before you get 100 orders, before you get any orders, you're gonna lose money, you know, you're gonna invest, you're gonna have to go through a whole waiting period of not even knowing when your next sale is gonna come. But all of that makes it so much worth it when you get one sale, let alone 5, let alone 10, all the way up to, I don't know, 100 sales a day, right? It's that period of uncomfortability. Is that even a word? I don't know. It's that feeling of extreme discomfort and that feeling of, you know, I'm suffering. When I say suffering, guys, I'm not saying in an extreme sense, although a lot of suffering is going to come in an extreme sense at the end of the day. I know we don't want to hear that. We want to feel that everything in life needs to be easy. I mean, it was an unfortunate reality for me too to come across. However, that's reality. You know, there's going to be moments in life where you suffer, but nothing is for free in this world, guys. Allah will never allow you to suffer for no reason. Do you really think that Allah is going to allow you to sit through something for no reason, to suffer for no reason? Nothing is for nothing, okay? If you suffer, know that Allah has something that He's going to give you later on. Your suffering doesn't come from nothing, doesn't come for nothing, you know? What was I gonna say? What was I saying though? What was the point of me saying all of that? Dang, I just be talking. There had to be a point of what I was saying. Oh yeah, the fact that the suffering that mankind, we go through, it's for something at the end of the day, and you see it and it humbles you when you realize that the prophets have gone through worse, and it makes me feel that, okay, who am I? Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam went through so much. Who am I other than someone that just needs to be patient in this moment? Now, of course, these things are easier said than done. However, it doesn't change the fact that it needs to be done. Now, the ending of Surah Yusuf, it just brings everything together, like the lesson of trusting Allah. It just puts all of that together. What ayah is it? You know what, I'm not even gonna play the game. I'm just gonna get my Quran and I'm gonna open directly to it, because I don't want to start the game and then I lose. Maybe it's my ego, I don't know. Oh, okay. So then we're nearing the end of Surah Yusuf. This part of Surah Yusuf, when I memorized it, can I just say that it brought tears to my eyes as I was reading it, because Allah's promise, like, how many times does Allah have to try to convince us that His word is true? Like, why can't we just be people that just submit and obey? If Allah tells us something, why can't my heart just accept it? You know, I'm not crying right now, by the way. I'm just very, like, you know, passionate. However, why can't my heart just accept what Allah tells me? Because Allah has never failed me up until this point. I think about my life, you know, and I think about everything I've made dua for from the youngest age where I could remember myself making dua up until me right now. I think about every single moment, and I can tell you Allah has never failed me. He has never failed me. Every single thing that I've asked Him for, I've gotten. And if I didn't get it, hindsight 2020, I realized that subhanAllah, I'm so happy it wasn't for me. Or I've seen something else and I'm happy that I didn't get it because I got something else, right? I can't tell you one moment where I feel that Allah has failed me in any sense. And yet, when I think about all of the things that consume my mind in terms of, you know, just worries about the future and, oh man, is it gonna happen this way and is my life gonna happen that way? All that worry for what? Allah has already never failed me. Why do I have to keep questioning him in every single moment? And I know we're human, so these things come where we question Allah. It's kind of sad that we feel the need to. That's just what I'm getting at. It's sad that I feel the need to constantly ask Allah for reassurance when he's proven to be good for his word. He's proven to be good for it in all of my years of living. So when I read this ayah, oh man, I just lost the page. When I read this ayah in Surah Yusuf, it brings everything back to me. And it's like a reminder for myself that, Chimmy, like, Allah's promise is true. Just do your part. And, you know, making dua and tying your camel, doing what you need to do. But at the end of the day, the end result is in his hands. And if it's in his hands, how could it possibly go wrong? It's impossible. It's impossible. It's not even like you're dealing like statistically there's like a margin of error here. No, there's none of that. 100% upon 100% upon 100% that you will be taken care of. Okay? The stress is only from shaitan. Worry is only from shaitan. And maybe because, you know, Prophet Yaqub was able to come to this realization even through the pain, it's also what kept him content, because he already knew what was for him was going to come to him, and he knew Yusuf was for him. So in ayah 96, everybody around Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam believes that he's going crazy until everyone gets confirmation that, listen, Yusuf is actually here and Yusuf is alive and our father isn't crazy. So when they come back to their father, they give him the shirt of Yusuf and they put it over his face, and that allows the father to then be able to see again. And within this moment, he then tells his sons, did I not say to you, I know from Allah that which you did not know? I don't know, that ayah it just gets me. For everybody else, it was a shock that Yusuf was there, but for him, because he had full conviction in what he was asking Allah, and he had full conviction that Allah would deliver, you know, it wasn't a surprise to him. So if anything, it was a moment where he was telling his sons, listen, this is what I've been promised, you know, and I went through all this, but I'm still getting what I've been promised, because I believed it. He had that full conviction. And that also goes to show us, it's not whatever dua you make, you know, whatever you really want from Allah, that's not for everybody around you to believe. I think a lot of the time for us, it's kind of like we want to believe it, but we also want people around us to believe that it's something that's doable for us, when the opinions of anybody else honestly do not matter in the slightest when it's between you and Allah, and it's between what you're asking Allah. What you ask Allah is none of our business, because at the end of the day, Allah could give you whatever, you know. If Allah decided to give you the entire world today, he would, and none of us could block that risk from you. Like if the whole world were to gather, that's also another thing, right? Like if the whole world were to gather to do something for you, or to even harm you, they can't do anything if Allah didn't ordain that for you. The same way, vice versa, if everybody gathered to give you good, no good could come your way if Allah didn't give it to you. So this ayah, it put so much into perspective for me, and it reaffirms to me that, like, the ball is always in my court. It's always in my court. It's never, man, I did this, now Allah has to do his part. No, you just need to continue doing your part. Whether that's making dua, whether that's, you know, being patient, making, you know, istighfar, having good thoughts of Allah, husnul dhan billah, like all these things, it's only of benefit for you, because Allah is already gonna do what he promised, okay? None of us could say that Allah's promise isn't true, regardless of how much pain you went through. And I think that's one thing, because sometimes when you go through pain, it's hard for you to conceptualize that good is coming, or that certain things were for the best, right? But if we could just understand that Allah is always going to do what's good for us, and even if it's bad for us, it's still good for us. Man, that reminds me of another hadith. What is it? Wondrous is the affair of the believer. If good befalls him, he's thankful and he says Alhamdulillah, and if something bad happens to him, he's patient, you know. But nothing is bad though. And even when you look at Yaqub alayhi salam, Yusuf being gone for X amount of years, it wasn't a horrible thing, because as we know from the story, so much was at play that Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam wasn't privy to, like in the moment obviously, but so much was happening in the background that Yusuf was benefiting hundreds of thousands of people that he probably could not have benefited as much had he been returned to his father in an instant, you know. When I think of the story of Prophet Yaqub, it just reaffirms to me that I need to be strong in my dua, and I cannot allow shaitan to obstruct my view. All the doubt that we have, it's only waswasa. It's only waswasa, because Allah's word, that's not something that's changing. What's changing is our minds and our mindset, and our state of being and how we perceive things. That's what's changing. What's been promised to us and what's been written for us years before our existence even, that's set in stone. That's Lawh al-Mahfuz territory, right? That's not something I can tamper with, and that's not something Shaitan could tamper with either. But what does he do? He gets to our minds and he tries to put doubt in what you're asking for, So this was such a lesson for me, and I feel like it's honestly very life-changing. Like, if you can really just sit down and try to apply it to whatever you're going through right now. And we're all going through stuff, nobody's perfect, regardless. And I think that's also one thing. People feel like, oh, because this person is famous or this person is XYZ, they must not have these struggles. Everybody has something they're going through, whether, to varying degrees, of course, but nonetheless, we're all going through something. However, all of the prophetic examples that we get, it's only to make the process easier for us as we go through it, not necessarily for pain to go away. And I think maybe, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't expect pain to simply go away when asking for something. Maybe what we need to be is just patient and content. Obviously not for every situation, right? Like, if you can be in a situation where it's easy for you to get out, or it's doable, then do it. But sometimes we're in situations where we're stuck and we really cannot do anything because the qadr of Allah has not been that we do anything in that moment. Sometimes you have to just sit in the qadr of Allah. But how are you going to sit in that qadr? Are you going to be content, and are you still going to believe that he can do it for you? Or are you going to just be anxious the entire time? Because both options are there. It's just your choice on how to deal with it. And dealing with hardship doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be easy. That's also one thing that I am learning, that just because you're going through hardship and you're trying to apply the most Islamic way and going through with it, it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. But perhaps that's where the reward comes to, right? Moral of the story, guys, or from what I'm getting from Surah Yusuf, or one of the morals that I'm getting, there's two. I'll probably do a video on the second one. But the main one for me is that Allah's promise will always be there. What is written for me will always be there. It will never change. Nothing, no one can take it away from me, not even myself. Just for you to understand that, yes, it's coming for you, whatever you want. Either that in its exact form or better is coming for you. But how are you going to show Allah that you're patient through the waiting period? We can say, I give up. Allah is not a merciful God. Allah is not treating me with mercy. We can look at it that way, or we can perhaps still go through some level of discomfort but still have that contentment and hope within us that good is still coming. I choose the latter. I have to choose the latter. I have to, because there's so much more life to live, and the simple fact that there is so much life to live means that these trials are going to be coming consistently. So the choice is yours. As for me, I definitely am trying to choose the path of Yaqub alayhi salam. And that's not for things to be easy, but I think it's for things to be bearable. When we make dua for certain things, it doesn't necessarily have to be that these things come to us easy. I think for us to know that it's coming is enough. From there, we have to just learn how to be patient, not question Allah's ability. It's so crazy, guys. We go every day not questioning people's abilities. Every day not questioning technology's abilities. For example, when I pick up my iPad and I swipe up and I put in my password and I turn it on, I expect that it's gonna turn on, because that's what Apple has said. This is how you turn on the iPad. Forget about Apple as well. It's tried and true. When I open this iPad on a daily basis, it turns on. It turns on. I have so much trust in my iPad. I have so much trust in my car. When I go in my car, I just honestly, y'all, I just go in there and I just turn it on and I leave. I know some people have worries where they get in their car and it doesn't turn on, but I think majority of us, we trust that. I'm running late for work, but I'm not gonna worry about my car not turning on. I'm just gonna turn my car on and I'm just gonna, put the key in the ignition and leave. We have so much tawakkul and so much trust in a car. The motor ain't pushing enough gas and the turbinator ain't hooked up to the combobulate. I'm not worried about what's hooked up in the engine. I don't even know what the engine looks like, okay? And I don't care to either, honestly. I mean, it's not really appealing to me, that car stuff. I don't really find joy in that. I just prefer to just drive it. But anyways, that's a side note. I don't care about the engine, okay? I have so much trust in that, but I can't even have that same trust in Allah that he's gonna do it for me. That's a problem, and I need to fix it. Yaqub alayhi salam didn't doubt Allah, and he waited years. There are signs for people that reflect. We have to be people that reflect. We kind of don't have a choice. Not if we want to live a good life, at least. I don't know. If you want a good life, just read the Quran. Even if you don't want to commit to memorizing. If you feel like that's too much for you to do right now, which I know I can argue with you on that, okay? If you want to argue like, oh, I don't have time, listen, stop it. You do have time. If you feel perhaps you can't have as big of a commitment to the Quran as you would like in the moment, it's fine. However, nothing is stopping you from opening it and reading it. But yeah, guys, I don't want this video to be long. I think I kind of want my videos, I don't know, what do you guys think? Do you guys like shorter videos or longer videos? Oh my god, guys, listen, also a side note, if any of you guys are planning to memorize Surah Yusuf, or if you're planning to just read it, just listen to it, especially if you're planning to just listen to it, okay, let me tell you who I recommend that has a beautiful voice. With Yusuf, Abdul Basit. Abdul Basit has an amazing voice and recitation with Surah Yusuf, and it honestly is one of the things that actually got me excited to memorize Surah Yusuf, because he says like a certain part in Surah Yusuf so nicely, you know, you know, that part, like it was pretty popular on TikTok, because there's a guy, his name is Ahmed Toure. He's also a very good one. I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, but he also recites Surah Yusuf very nicely. In terms of who I memorized Surah Yusuf with, Ghamadi. Ghamadi has a very good flow. He's not too slow. I cannot memorize with Abdul Basit because I just need to go a little bit faster, okay? Nothing against Abdul Basit, I love him, but I just need something a little faster. Ghamadi I think is perfect because he's not too slow and he's also not too fast. Definitely check out those reciters. I'm also going to link them down below. Inshallah, they're all very amazing, and definitely listen to the tafsir of Surah Yusuf. It's going to get you excited. Well, with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching, and inshallah I will speak to you in the next video. Assalamualaikum.